introduce ourselves and just to give you an overview on what we are about to share with you. So the first thing would be, so we're talking about energy and about methods, practical methods to restore your energy levels, making sure that you can keep those newly found energy levels. So the very first part will be theoretical. So it will be a little bit of theory and of science of energy. And then we'll talk briefly about the spiritual traditions. So energy in spiritual traditions. We will then speak about grounding and centering and the difference between the two. And Pooja will run us through exercises, practical exercises for both grounding and centering. We will then move on to a little bit of an overview, an explanation about another alternative method, another approach to energy restoring, as we said. That's by the Monroe Institute, so by through the use of hemisync technology. We will tell you more about it later. And we will have finally a practical exercise, so you can actually feel and experience what we have earlier explained with words. Have I missed anything, Pooja?
No, I think that was perfect. And we've already told people that we are recording this session and we will stop recording before the actual experience.
Exactly. Perfect. So just a little bit of introduction. Pooja, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Pooja Miles, and like Val, I am an outreach trainer for the Monroe Institute. And the Monroe Institute is really an organization that has as its aim to increase consciousness, and they facilitate this consciousness exploration using sound technology. And they started in the 1970s, but really they were one of the pioneers and they've continued to develop that. So that's one aspect of my role. In my other life, I'm a public health specialist and epidemiologist. So I have a separate work and life. And how I was introduced to the Monroe Institute was because I needed some tools to help me live life better and also to cope with a very demanding um, work schedule and just ensure that my energy was kept up. So this topic especially is really close to my heart. Val, over to you.
Great, thank you. My name is Valentina, but most people call me Val. I'm from Italy originally, and I spent 10 years in London for the part, well, probably starting 2012. It was a brilliant experience that that kind of is part of my previous life. So as Pooja, I also used to have a job, a life that was completely different from what I do now. So used to work in corporates and always had a passion for meditation and the exploration of consciousness and exploration of states of being that could take me beyond the physical. It was as if, and it still is, now with a little bit more knowledge, the physical was not enough. I felt that it was something more. And so I've been researching all my life. A couple of years ago, I decided to move away from London to start a new chapter of my life. So I've been a Reiki master, meditation coach, a life coach for about 20 years now. And before, it was something that I used to do on the side of my normal job, regular job. And now I kind of reversed the situation. So I'm doing this full time as a Monroe trainer, but also as a holistic therapist. And it's, I mean, my life has changed. And what I, like Pooja, would like to do is to share methods and technology and approaches that everyone can use and are very simple, that can change for the better everyone's life. So here we are. Pooja, over to you. And I'm starting the screen sharing, so you can take us through the presentation. Let me know if you see it and when you see it.
Thanks so much, Mel. Yes, we can see the opening slide. So the topic for today is restoring your energy. And before we talk about restoring your energy, I thought it would be interesting to just look at what we mean by energy when we're discussing this. Now, at a very simple level, and this is a definition which is actually used in scientific papers, and this is how a lot of people would perceive energy, is just the strength and vitality that is required for sustained physical and mental activity. This is what helps you it gives you that drive, that get go, so that you can go and live your life to its fullest. However, there's also another way to conceptualize energy, and that is in the spiritual context. And in the spiritual context, energy has been defined as the spiritual or ethereal force that is present in all living things. And this definition and this concept underlies various forms of alternative medicine therapies, especially when you look at, some of the spiritual traditions that either come from India when they talk about the energy body, and chakras and nadis, also from Chinese medicine. So when you have the concept of qi, and then you have qigong. So that's what we mean by energy in this context. Now, if we go on to the next slide, what we're going to see is that with time, there has been a scientific recognition that all of us have what is called a biofield. And in fact, the National Institutes of Health in the US, they adopted this definition of a biofield in the 1990s, which is that there is a field which doesn't have any mass or weight, which is around us all. It's not necessarily electromagnetic, but it surrounds and permeates our living bodies. So there is definitely this recognition, there's something there. But we don't quite know how to characterize it as well. So you can imagine this is one of the reasons why the ancients would refer to the subtle body or the subtle energy. Now, there is an element of this biofield which is electromagnetic in nature, and there is a potential for interaction between external electrical and magnetic fields with our own biofields. Val, would you like to add something here?
Yes, I would like to add actually a kind of complete what you're saying, which is really interesting, with the perception of the energy in spiritual traditions. What we can see through what Pooja was explaining earlier about bioenergy fields is that we can start to acknowledge and identify and becoming aware of the existence of energy, which actually makes a body of its own. In spiritual tradition, it is in fact well established that we are complex beings, and we're not only made of flesh, so not only of the physical body, but we also have a number of subtle bodies. We're going to mention only 4 today, but there are, according to different traditions, they identify a different number of subtle bodies. But definitely we have an energetic body all around our physical body. And then on top of the energetic body, we have an emotional body, also known as astral body. And then we also have the mind. So each of these bodies have very specific functions. So the energetic body clearly conveys energy and to the physical body, within the body and outside of the body. The emotional body has more to do with the emotions, and so it's the body that perceives, absorbs, and helps you processing the emotions, helped by the mind that has, let's say it's the processor of the thought. So the thought enters our field through the body that we called mind. And then this energy, because everything is energy, right? So the thought that's energy kind of permeates the other body, which is the emotional body, and the thought provokes and produces an emotion. And then the emotion produces a type of energy, okay, a specific type of energy connected to the type of emotion that we're feeling. And that is translated within our physical body. So it permeates down to the cell level. So we can imagine ourselves just like Russian dolls, which is why we have this image here. So it's like, we are, as I said, complex. So there are more layers, if you will, that compose our true being, the complexity that we really are. And there are a number of techniques developed over the years that help us perceive and visualize energy. In fact, one of the bridges, or actually one of the people that have built a bridge between science and spirituality, is Barbara Ann Brennan. And the reason why Pooja and I decided to mention her is because you can see from the first bullet point, she has been a scientist at NASA, of all places, right? So at the Space Flight Center, she was a research scientist. She also has a number of other certifications. So she was a very logic person, a very rational person, if you will. And through research, okay, she realized that we have a human energy, an energy field. And she's been studying, she's on now, but she had been studying a human energy field for a very long time, also creating a proper healing science, which clearly has her name. And she has been, where she used to collaborate with Bob Monroe, and we have a number of tracks, in fact, that follow the protocols and the program that she set up and devised that help us with the healing processes. Pooja, would you like to add anything at this point?
No, that was perfect.
No? Okay, then I'll move on to the next slide. Oh, I just wanted to say something, sorry, before moving on. We want to hear your questions, and we want to hear what you think. And if you have questions, if you can either type them into the chat while we speak, or simply ask them at the end of our presentation, so that we keep the flow. But we will respond to your questions. Okay, thank you, Pooja.
Thanks, Val. So we're now going to go into one of the concepts which is considered a foundational concept of energy hygiene, and this is the concept of grounding. You might hear some people referring to this as earthing, and it is what it says on the tin. So grounding is basically the idea that your body is connected to the earth. Now, this is important at many different levels. So one, I talked about us having a biofield, all of us. And so we have an electromagnetic charge in us. And there are, again, scientific papers about this. And we know from electrical engineering that, if you get an electrician to work on your house, on your wiring, they will always have a grounding wire which connects that your electric circuits to the earth to prevent a buildup of excess charge. And the same happens to us. So sometimes if you're not grounded, if you're not really connected to the earth, we can just feel like sometimes people have this restless leg syndrome, or, they just feel like, oh, I just feel uncomfortable and twitchy. It may be because you're not grounded enough. And we're going to talk about some of the techniques which are very easy on how you can ground. There are studies which show that biological grounding can enhance your biological functioning and well-being. So, it can actually lower your inflammation. Now, there's also the notion of grounding becomes important even from a spiritual perspective. And in this context, the idea of grounding is that you basically increase your connection to your body. So you fully embody your psyche or your soul. So, which means you're more present. So you're not here, you're not there, you are in your body, you're fully focused on what you're doing, on the person you're relating to. So let's talk about some grounding techniques. So really simple techniques, and again, these are talked about in the scientific literature as well, is just walk barefoot in the grass or on a beach or in a cold stream. And that will help you feel that connection to the earth. Now, some of you might say, well, I live in a city and I'm in a flat which is on the 13th floor or the 15th floor. How can I get grounded? Actually, even if you're barefoot on a concrete floor, that can help you with that connection. Also, eating starchy or carbohydrate-rich foods, especially root vegetables. Now, this is more in the context of, that embodiment that you are coming back to your body. That can really help you feel more grounded in your body because these are foods which have substance in them. Other things you can do is take a shower or a bath, use your body. So do activities like dancing, exercising, squatting, body weight, resistance exercises are also really great because you really feel that you're in your body. Now, let's say you're in your office, you can't do any of these things. You can do a visualization technique. And what I'll suggest is, if all of you, while you're sitting, if you're sat in a chair, make sure that both your feet are rested fully on the ground, on the floor, and just visualize that there is a golden cord of light, which is going from your belly and extending deep down into the earth's core and really anchoring you there. And this is something, it's a simple technique, but it's something that you can do every morning, or if you're feeling that, I really don't feel in my body, you can use this. So I'm just going to give you a few seconds. So again, just if you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. Just feel where your belly button is and just imagine that, an inch or so behind your belly button, there is this little golden ball, and then it is extending into a golden cord, and that golden cord is going down into the earth, deep, deep, deep into the very center and core of the earth. And it's anchoring you there. And then just take a few breaths. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes. Now, in some instances, depending on what your baseline was, you might feel it immediately. In other cases, you won't feel that so much. And that happens with me. Sometimes I was like, don't feel it at all. But other times I just absolutely feel heavier, a weight, a very comforting sensation. I'm in my body. And I know that's when I really needed it. Another technique that you can use is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. And this is a technique where you engage each of your physical senses. And by engaging your physical senses, again, you increase your connection to your body. So how this works is you can try this again while I'm talking you through this. So look around in your room or in your environment. Are there 5 things you can spot? So for example, you might say, I see my computer, I see my notebook, I see my desk, I see the door, I see my phone on the table. You then take 4 things that you touch. And it might be, I touch the back of my hands, I touch my scarf, I touch my hair, I touch the table. Again, you're engaging that touch sense. Then you go to 3 things you can hear. Now, clearly you should be able to hear my voice, but then say, is there any background noise in your environment? Can you hear the sound of your breath? So things like that, focus on those 3 things that you can hear. And then you go to 2 things that you can smell. And you might say, well, I don't have any perfume around me, but maybe you have a cup of tea with you. Maybe take that to your nose and just see, inhale those aromas. Maybe just take the back of your hand and just inhale, because we have an inherent smell to us. So again, that's engaging your sense of smell. And finally, one thing that you can taste. Now, you may have something next to you, like a cup of tea, a chocolate that you can taste. But if you have nothing, just see, can you perceive what the taste is in your mouth, the taste of your saliva? And through going through this process, this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and engaging all these physical senses, it will invariably bring you to that greater connection. Val, would you like to add something there?
Well, first of all, well, thank you. It was actually very useful. I was doing it as you were explaining it, and it's very useful. And I was also giggling at the end when you talked about the taste, because I will always have chocolate on my desk. I'm sure the taste will invariably be chocolate. Other than that, I just wanted to stress the importance of grounding. So these are very simple techniques that we should really use, particularly if we are meditators, or if we do a kind of job, for example, that has a lot to do with people, and therefore we're subject to their emotions. The grounding is sometimes, unfortunately, and I've been guilty of this, in my 20 years of experience. At the beginning, I was guilty of this. It is confused with, oh my God, if I want to meditate, I want to have an experience which is, over the top or really profound, I have to lose connection with my physical. And this is only partly true, because if we don't ground ourselves very well before or in between 2 meditation experiences, we will not have enough energy and enough centering, probably I should also say, even though we're going to speak about it in a minute, in order to have the experience. It's very similar to when you dive in a beautiful sea, okay? If you dive in a beautiful sea and you're able to touch the bottom of the sea with your feet, and then you can push yourself up, you go up much faster, and you can even literally jump out of the water. But if you dive and you don't touch the bottom and you have to swim up, it's still beautiful, but it won't take you high as quickly, and you won't be able to jump above the surface of the water. I'm using metaphors, but I'm sure they make sense. And so please do take some time to consider the importance of the grounding techniques as meditators particularly. Thank you, Pooja.
Okay, so the next concept, which is really crucial to energy hygiene, is the concept of centering. And in spiritual traditions as well, this is considered really important. It's similar to grounding, but it's different. So I like to think about grounding is you're going down in a vertical line, you're connecting to the core of the earth, whereas centering is you're coming into your center. And now what happens is, normally in our day-to-day lives, we're worrying about what's happening in the future, what's happened in the past, what's happening there, here. Our attention is everywhere but here. So, we feel scattered. And in fact, you'll see people who are sometimes, scattered and they're not fully there. And really centering means bringing your focus or attention to the center here. Now, there are 2 simple ways that I like, which can really help with centering. One is just simple breathing practices. So bringing your awareness to your breath. And again, as I'm speaking, you can try this now. So you can close your eyes if you like. And again, just practice if you're if you don't have your feet, see if you can touch your feet to the floor. So that gives you that grounding as well. And just breathe into your belly, and then let your belly deflate. And the idea is just let it. Now, I've said here, breathe in for a count of 5, breathe out for a count of 10. But really, it's just breathe in, and then just make sure that your out breath is longer. So whatever sequence of numbers works for you. So if you can only count to in, 2, 3, 4, and out to a breath of 8, that's perfectly fine. Just let your out breath be longer. So in your own time and at your own pace, close your eyes, I'll give you a few seconds, and just focus on your belly, the breath coming into your belly, inflating your belly, and then your out breath deflating your belly. Just focus on a few of your breaths. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. Now, I know I didn't give you long for that, and it doesn't have to be very long, but what you will notice is by focusing on your breath, because your breath is in the center, like it will bring you into that awareness, into your center. The other thing that I quite like is a Qigong movement for centering. And I'm going to stand up and see if you can see me here. So let's see. So what you do is you take one hand, palm facing upwards, just in front of your belly button or slightly below your belly button. So mine is at my belly button so you can see it. And with the other hand, you basically just swing out your arm and then bring it in front of you to your central line and just take it down, just bring it down in your central line. And then you switch hands. You put this hand at your belly button, palm facing up, and with the other hand, you just swing it around, bring it along your midline, bring it here. And you can just you can be sat when you're doing it. I'm standing so you can see it. And you just do this a few cycles of this. And there is something about just engaging your physical body and just doing this motion that just reminds you to come back into your center. And when you're done, you can either just place your hands just one on top of the other on your belly button, close your eyes, you can just take a few belly breaths in, just feel your belly inflating. You're moving your hands up in front of you as you breathe in. Feel the hands going in as you breathe out. And then when you're ready, that's it. You should hopefully feel more centered. And I will just say this, that these are techniques we found useful. These are techniques that have been found useful by many. But whatever we say, at the end of the day, it has to work for you. So, don't ever give your power away to anyone. What we offer, try it. Try it again, because in the context of a webinar, sometimes, you may not be able to really get into this. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, put it aside. Okay. Val, anything from you?
Only one little observation, apart from a heartfelt thanks, because I really feel centered. And because I'm really feeling what you had us do, one thing comes to mind. Centering has to do with presence. And with the idea of I am doing the best I can in this very moment with what I have and in the time that I have available. And that changes, it switches whatever anxiety you have or whatever situation you are facing. We face situations, everyone faces situation, right? Every day. And these simple movements that Puja run us through really helps to kind of come down to what is important, which is now. Thank you, Puja.
So the next thing I want to talk about is meditation, because people might think, well, how is meditation related to energy? Again, my first course of action is usually to go to the science, because that is my training. So meditation is, and there are lots of studies that have actually shown that meditation is very helpful for chronic fatigue syndrome and fatigue symptoms in general. And in fact, there was a very recent paper that reviewed 32 scientific studies, and they found some evidence that meditation based interventions can alleviate both physical and mental fatigue symptoms. Now, because the studies have looked at all different types of meditation, it's hard to give you a particular prescription. However, generally, when people ask me sometimes, they're confused. They say, what do you mean by meditation? And again, for me personally, meditation is just any technique which helps you get more mindful and be present. You're not in the future, you're not in the past, you escape this, this wheel of time as sort of rut, and you just come into that pure presence. And that is what it is. Ultimately, these techniques are all trying to get you to that place. And because Val and I have done a lot of work with the Monroe Institute, and we are, looped in with a lot of meditators, we have a lot of anecdotal evidence from regular meditators to suggest that meditation and daily energy hygiene practices, like the ones we've told you, can help them maintain a high energy state throughout the day. And just a little personal anecdote, about 7.5 years ago, I moved to London from where I was. And I used to just for work. And I'd come back at the end of the day and I would be absolutely shattered. And I just had no energy. People would say, wow, you're so lucky you're in London. You can do so many things. I was like, well, I don't want to do anything. I just want to go and just sleep. And that is when I started just regularly doing these daily energy practices, the grounding, the centering. And you can imagine, if my energy is here, there, everywhere, I cannot harness that. So by bringing your energy in towards yourself and also harnessing the energy that you naturally can leverage, which is the energy from the earth, you are in a more high energy state. So I just felt the difference within a week. So, and even now when I go for conferences and if I have jet lag, I have my favorite tracks that I listen to, and that helps me immensely. And people are usually asking me, how are you doing so well? So really, again, we can only share our experience and encourage you to try this, and then make up your mind for yourself if that works for you or not. So Val, anything you want to add?
Not add on what you said, which was perfect and perfectly clear as well, but kind of take your assist to move on to the next slide, which is quite visual, right? So it's intuitive, quite intuitive, but this image has been chosen because it really, in a way, it encapsulates the two concepts of grounding and centering. And it is what we are going to do with the exercise, because it is what really take us to obtain a rebalancing of the energies, and therefore we can feel more energized and we can start perceiving our own energy. And when we get to know how our own energy feels like, then we can identify the energies of others, right? So we don't confuse those others' energies with ours, and we can identify what doesn't belong to us and maybe we don't want to get involved into, right? So it is very important to feel how we feel. So how does our own energy feel like? Now, so here it says your energy electromagnetic field, as Pooja also was mentioning earlier. We at the Monroe Institute call it resonant energy balloon, REBAL for short. And this is more or less how we suggest people to visualize it. We suggest people to visualize an energy balloon, a cocoon. Here you see more of a matrix. And that's, our electromagnetic field. This is how it looks like usually. We tend to suggest the visualization of a balloon because in our minds, usually something that encloses, it's also something that helps you feel the energy. And this is only a suggestion, which means that if when you feel your own energy, and I'm kind of jumping a little bit ahead because that's what will happen in the track that we're gonna try together. When you feel your energy, the shape that you visualize or that you feel around you is a different one. So is a square, for example, or it's a triangle, or even you feel like you are inside a flower. So whatever your mind suggests you, please take that. So what we tell you to visualize, it's only an advice, and then you should always go with what your mind suggests. What Pooja said earlier, don't give your power away. And what we're trying to do here is to remind you of your power. Okay. So these energy, resonant energy balloon, helps you preserve your own energy, which is why it's called resonant, because it resonates with your own energy. So it comes out of you, if you will. So you will hear the track, and you will be guided through the creation of this energy balloon. In short, what you'll do is you will breathe in, and then you kind of store the fresh air into your head, and then as you breathe out, you'll imagine. Use your fantasy, use your memory, use even the memory of this image that I'm showing here, and you kind of imagine like a fountain that goes out of your head and flows down all around you, and then as you breathe in again, it comes in again through your feet, and then flows its way up to your head, and then once again, as you breathe out, it comes out of your head. You do this a couple of times, and you will resonate with your own energy, and it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. A little bit about the theory or the science about what we are going to experience today, in a sense that we want to do this because, well, knowledge is freedom, okay? And we want free people because Pooja and I want to be free. So we're going to give you some information about how our brain works, so that once our rational part, if you will, has been fed with the information, it can rest and give the space to our creative mind that will lead us into the experience. Today, neuroscience has taught us, and it's common knowledge nowadays, that our brain is made of two different parts. These parts are called hemispheres. And each hemisphere has a very specific function, and we use, well, a number of specific functions, and we use these hemispheres in a very discriminating way, in the sense that in order to do math, for example, in order to talk and use the language, in order to measure space and time, linear time, we use our left hemisphere. And in order to dream, even daydream, or whenever we are creative, whenever we look at a beautiful sunset or think about a person that we love, or we are in touch with nature, that is when our right part of the brain, so our right hemisphere, activates. And in using these two hemispheres separately, we miss out on a lot of our potential and a lot of opportunities. So what we do through the technology that you're going to try tonight is we synchronize the hemispheres. How? By a very simple mechanism that I have the pleasure of that you will hear in a moment through a video that was shot by Bob Monroe's daughter herself. So you'll have this experience. It's a very, it works very simply by sending different signals through the headset to your right ear and to your left ear. The video will go into more details. For now, what is important to know is that by creating these interhemispheric synchronization, you will move from the condition that you see shown in the left brainwave map, which is a condition of incoherence. The pattern and the colors represent different brain waves, and the patterns are all mixed up, as you can tell. Whereas once you use the hemisync technology, even just after a few minutes, your brain produces brain waves that are coherent, and therefore your abilities are enhanced. We call it a whole brain rather than a scattered brain, which you can see in the left part. To this point, Pooja, do you want to add anything, or shall I go on?
And go on.
Okay, then I will. Just very briefly, you can read these as I speak. The benefits of hemisyncs are really many. There are some that have been generalized in the sense that they are experienced by the majority of people, like a sense of immediate relaxation, an improved sleep quality, the ability of getting solutions to problems that were sitting there, that had been sitting there for ages, and all of a sudden there's a creative solution that I hadn't thought about, and it comes to me after I've been using hemisync for some time. There is also the possibility to starting becoming aware of the energetic body, and therefore starting to use your energy body in a very different way, because it is a conscious use of your body. You become much more aware of what happens within you, and therefore the whole experience of your daily life really changes. You can be much more lucid in your decision making. It's incredible how just after a few minutes of listening to a track, the thoughts kind of not disappear, because we are thinking people, or we are thinking beings, but they go.
Is this binaural beat phenomena, where you send one frequency to one ear, one frequency to the other ear. They're similar but slightly different. Your brain doesn't like that. So the two parts of your brain, they work together to create a third sound, which is this illusion. So in this case, in this image you see, there's 100 hertz in one ear, 105 hertz in another ear. So your brain creates the illusion that it's a sound which is actually the difference between the two, 5 hertz. And it's because the two halves of your brain are working to create this illusion, that's what makes them coherent. Now, one of the things we know from science is people describe it as the flicker response or the frequency following response. If we are exposed to any frequency in our environment which is more dominant, our physiology, and when I say our physiology, I mean by things like our heart rate, our breathing rate, our brain waves start following that. And intuitively, you may have experienced this. So if you go to a rock concert, or if you go to a shamanic drumming circle and the music is going, and you start, even if you hadn't wanted to, your feet start tapping, your heart rate, you might feel some differences. And that is because that dominant external frequency is coaxing your physiology to follow it. And this is what happens even with your brain waves. Now, what the Monroe Institute has done is it has looked at the science, because different consciousness states are associated with different frequency ranges of brain waves. So when you see the numbers like 30 to 100 hertz, all it means, hertz is a unit which describes how many times something cycles per second. And because we know these frequencies, you can actually, yes, okay, this is called in training. We can actually see if you want to sleep, we can give you the frequency, which is the delta wave frequency. If you want to go into a creative stage, you can be like, you deliver the alpha wave frequency. Beta wave is where we are in our waking consciousness. Gamma waves is like, where the Zen Buddhist monks are. And actually, there's a lot of science going on recently that, this helps with a lot of improvements in cognition, that is our memory and recall. So this understanding has been incorporated into the various tracks, depending on what you are trying to achieve. So, and there's often a layering of the different brainwaves to give you the best experience, and that's done based on the science. So today's track, which Val will explain to you, has the right mix given what we're trying to achieve there. So Val, if I can pass on to you. And I don't know if you want to say something about the track and then we stop the recording, because then we can include a link so people can follow that in their own time.
Absolutely, that's a good idea. So the audio track, it is actually called Restore Your Energy, and it's a very well guided track. You will be guided first through a little relaxation, and then you will be guided through the creation of your actual rebel that we see. It's short for resonant energy balloon, which is this cocoon that you will create around you that can have any shape that you recognize, that it's resonating with you. So you will first breathe in the energy, and then as you breathe out, you'll imagine it coming out of your head and then falling down more like really like a fountain, and then going all around you, caressing you, if you will, and then up again through your feet as you breathe in again. And you will have time to do this breathing and visualizing exercise a couple of times, a few times actually, and then you get to play with it a little bit, and then feel what you feel and how you feel inside this beautiful cocoon. For this experience, I'd suggest you all to be in the most comfortable position you can. Really make sure that this is your moment, your minutes of self-love. So close the door of your room and wear your headset, close your eyes, and simply just let yourself go to the white noise or rose noise, pink noise that you will hear, and the guidance is quite clear. The voice is a male voice, which is really, really warm and guides you quite well through the exercise. Don't expect anything really particularly, because the experiences are very individual and are very specific. Be open to anything. You might be feeling something physically. You might be feeling the energy or having specific thoughts or memories or feelings. You might be feeling some specific emotions that are in your energy fields and kind of pop up in a way that's more aware than it's been so far. You might be seeing colors, for example, if you are a visual person. You might be, and you might understand something all of a sudden. So, oh, that's how it is, you know. Or you might just fall asleep and enjoy all the benefits that the frequencies will bring to you, regardless of your conscious experience, basically what you remember or not. Anything else, Pooja?
Well, there was a question whether it's important to have the spine upright, like in meditation, or is leaning back okay? What we say is be comfortable, so you can lie down. If you have a recliner chair, you can be in that recliner chair. So we're not